It's football. I've been watching it for 40 years.
Are you kidding me?
You're listening to Winning Cures Everything.
Game day, baby. Wake up or get out.
Here's your host,
a confident young man, a superb athlete,
Gary Seegers.
Welcome in, Winning Cures Everything, the first Week 0 recap and reaction show. I'm your host, Gary Seegers. You can follow me on social media at GaryWCE. I'm still suspended on Twitter, so hit me up on TikTok and on Instagram. Things are changing. I don't know when the hell I'm going to get unsuspended from those. But either way, go ahead, make sure and click like and click the subscribe button. If you're not already subscribed to the podcast, I would highly recommend that you do so. And let me go ahead and introduce you to a good friend of mine, a guy that I have known since I was 4 years old, 5 maybe. We lived on the same street when my family moved to Memphis, to Olive Branch specifically. Matt Huey. Matt, how are you? Tell them where they can find you, all that good stuff.
I am Matt Huey. I am probably not what you think. I am actually a physical therapist, and that is my full-time job. I am a physical therapist, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok under Matt_PT_dip_MDT. I do a lot of goofy stuff on there. Also run my own little clinic and stuff like that, but a big college football fan as well.
Most certainly. I will make sure and put your screen names in the description there. But yeah, it looks like we got a few people watching, 12 people watching. Not that many likes, though, so go ahead again, hit that like button for us. It helps get it out in front of more people, and that helps us out. So Matt is going to jump in with me. I found that it was incredibly difficult to do these reaction shows by myself. When you don't have somebody to bounce ideas off of, to bounce, reactions off of, it's kind of difficult. So we talked about it a little bit, a couple weeks ago. I said, hey, would you be interested in doing this? I know that he watches college football. And he said, yes, absolutely. And that worked out pretty well. So, yeah, we're gonna try this thing out. Again, just so everybody knows, I want to be as transparent as possible. My wife could go into labor at any point. So I don't know what that's going to look like, when it's going to happen, etc. She is due in 2 weeks from yesterday. So I will be putting out college football content through all of it, but there might be a day or two where I am at the hospital. So just so everybody knows, I know there are a lot of people that come here to get their, college football previews and predictions and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, be prepared. Be prepared for that. All right, Matt. First off, let's start off with this. Opening thoughts of the week 0. What did you think?
I thought it was actually a pretty good weekend. Very entertaining games. Wasn't like as bad of like his beatings of teams on there. I was entertained all day. I was entertained from the first game until the last game. I felt they were all pretty good.
Opened kind of with a dud, right? I mean, and we'll start with that. Let's go on and start with Notre Dame. And my thoughts on the entire day were, not fantastic. But it was incredibly entertaining in the nightcap, right? Notre Dame came out and just bashed them immediately. And let me write our times down so I know exactly how to do the chapters here in a little bit. But Notre Dame 42, Navy 3. Sam Hartman came out just slinging, and we'll go on and change over, make sure I get the design stuff correct on here so you can actually see everything. So we'll change that, and we'll put this up there. 42-3. No turnovers in the game. Biggest stats that we look at are points per play, success rate, and then, of course, down here, there will be tackles for loss, right? Notre Dame had 5. Success rate, I mean, when 2/3 of your plays are successful, I mean, it's just absurd. This was 2 incredibly unevenly matched teams. Oh, yeah. Navy looked like they had no business being on that field. And, Matt, this is the 4th time in a row, 4th season in a row, that Navy has just been blasted in week 1. And this is with a new head coach. Brian Newberry came in. He had talked all offseason, right, all through fall camp about how they were going to be more physical. They had to get ready for physicality. That's something that they had not done at Navy in the past, 3 seasons. But they got beat, 55-3 by BYU in 2020. They got beat 49-7 by Marshall in 2021, and then last year they lost at home to Delaware 14-7 in the first week. So this time they go over to Ireland. They're playing Notre Dame, a team that they typically have at least spread success against, and they could do nothing. Uh, Early on, it looked like they might be able to run the ball a little bit. They had some interesting wrinkles, but those guys could not get out of their own way. I mean, it was just, it looked like a debacle from the word go. Is that kind of what you thought here?
Yeah, when it came out, Notre Dame, when they got the ball, because they got the ball to open up straight down the field, I'm like, okay, Notre Dame's looking pretty solid. That's good. But yeah, Navy, watching them, I'm like, not even in the same ballpark of anything. Running the option, the triple option like that, I'm like, yeah, you're going to get yards. It's going to be tough to defend on some of it. But Notre Dame is like, no, these are not two teams even remotely close.
Right, right. I did find it interesting. Notre Dame did come out throwing the ball down the field. The line, as you can see on the screen there, Notre Dame was favored by 20.5. They won by 39 points, and both teams missed a field goal. So prayers to those that had the over 49.5 or 50, because both of those field goals would have hit that over. But yes, just a little bit rainy and whatnot. But Sam Hartman, I mean, he was 19 out of 23, 251 yards, 4 touchdowns, looked spectacular. He hit 8 different receivers in this one, and they were not scared to throw the ball down the field.
No.
They had 2 touchdowns to the freshman, right? John, and I can't even read my own writing. Let's go and pull it up. Let's pull it up on the screen, and you can actually see it. Let's see. Great House. That's his name. 3 receptions, 68 yards, 2 touchdowns. He averaged like 22.5 yards per reception. When Notre Dame can throw the ball down the field and still run it the way that they did, 32 carries, 191 yards. I mean, that ain't bad. 6 yards a carry is not bad. So yeah, this
I
team
felt like their line was just manhandling, just
they could
whatever
do
they wanted to
anything they
do.
wanted.
Yeah.
Yes, anything they wanted to do. It was a bloodbath from the word go. 14-0 in the first quarter. They came out and scored 2 more touchdowns. And the fact that Navy could do nothing. I mean, that's the scary thing. You look at the drive chart here, and we'll swap it over. All right, so the drive chart, Navy. So turnover on downs, they got down there. I mean, think about how different this could have been had you know Navy maybe scored on that first drive. It might have done a little bit different. I think Notre Dame still would have done whatever they wanted to, but it could have at least made the game interesting. But turnover on downs for Navy, a punt, a missed field goal after a 14-play, 8-minute drive. So they got 0 points. And then Notre Dame turns around and does a 9-play, 80-yard drive in a minute 42 to score before the half. I mean, what do you do with that, right? So Notre Dame with a good quarterback is terrifying. Like
I was thinking, I'm
team.
like, they kept talking about like last year, Notre Dame let off, Navy going to come back. And I was thinking that, I'm like, okay, are they going to let up? Are they going to let them back in the game a little bit? They never did. Didn't
No.
let them back whatsoever, which I felt was good for Notre Dame. Like, you kept on your game plan. You guys were focused. You kept doing what you were supposed to be doing the whole game.
Yes, 100%. So it was about what we expected. I'll tell you, when it was 28-3 at the half or 28-0 at the half, I was looking to last year where it was 35-13 at the half. Take Hartman out, and no, they kept him in right up until like midpoint of the fourth quarter, just to make sure he got plenty of reps. They've got Tennessee State next week, and then they go to NC State. It's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see what Notre Dame looks like in that spot. But this is a fantastic team. All that talk about Navy, by the way, about the fact that they were going to, possibly maybe start throwing the ball more. Ty Lavatai threw the ball 6 times, completed 3 of them for 43 yards. So
Yeah, there was no passing. It was just
no. Well, even once they got up, like it was nuts. All right, let's see. I see somebody jumped in already. Gary, turn up your microphone. All right, does that change anything? Can you hear that better? Matt, do you hear anything different?
Oh no, it sounds good to me. Mine,
Yeah.
okay. If y'all bear with me, like I said, I am just a hillbilly like this. This is a lot of technology, and I am trying so hard with this equipment here. So if it's bad on my end, I will fix it
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
best I can.
We will figure it out. All right, let's see. And we got you back.
Yep, here I am.
Okay, I think I lost. I think I lost internet for a second. I don't know what's going on, but we'll figure it out one way or another. So, so carrying on, and you know what? Here, start me off with this because I'm going to turn this thing off for these dogs right quick. But tell me your thoughts on USC, and I'm gonna listen to you and then pop back in. All right.
So USC, I kind of expected with that one, like they were just going to come out and smoke San Jose State, like just come out. It's not even going to be like a game because the ranked number 6 come out. Just thought I was going to run over it, but it took them to the second quarter to really start pulling ahead. It was 7-7 into the second quarter, and it's like, why are you letting San Jose State stay in this game this long? And San Jose State put up a fight through it.
Yes.
And it really seems like, okay, I will say first game, you kind of got to get in your rhythm. The game speed is different than practice speed. You just have, it's like, okay, we're just not firing all cylinders. We kind of have to hit our rhythm. But it's like, ooh, it took you that long? I'm thinking it's not going to be some happy meetings this week about the opening play of like, why are you letting a team like that stick around for this long? Like, put them away early.
To be fair, San Jose State, of course, they've got Chevon Cordero. Good gracious, I'm gonna be able to pronounce that name eventually. Chevon Cordero, who used to be at Hawaii. He is the preseason All MWC offensive player of the year. Right, that's what they're projecting. So you knew that the offense was going to be all right. The fact that this thing was like 21-14 early, just a debacle. I mean, it ended up 56-28, but 21-14 at the half. Okay. One, why, like, USC's offense did not come out clicking, right? That's the first part of it. The second part was they didn't look good on defense again, and that's a typical thing. Now they've got like 6 games to go before they get to where they need to be. Because I think week 7 or week 8, the 7th game of the season for USC, they play Notre Dame. That's when they're really going to have to worry about it. Cordero, by the way, for San Jose State, absolutely legit. He was 21 out of 38, 198 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like San Jose State was able to put up some yardage. Like total yards, 396, almost 400 yards. They ran the ball for 198 yards on 27 carries. I mean, just bonkers to think about. But, this was about what we expected. You knew that the USC offense was going to start clicking. They put up 21 points in the third quarter, put up another couple of touchdowns in the fourth. Moss looked okay at quarterback. So I don't think they're going to be great if Caleb Williams goes out. But overall, Williams did exactly what you expected. 278 yards passing, 18 out of 25, had 4 touchdowns. He did not run the ball a ton. I mean, he 8 carries, but, some sacks, whatever. He had -2 yards. Didn't try to leave the pocket a whole lot. It didn't feel like. The stud, by the way, Zachariah Branch, that's the new freshman that came in, had like 200-something all-purpose yards. Kick return for a touchdown. Like, absolute beast. Absolute beast. Will Cover jumped in, like the TV setup in the man cave. How many games can you follow at one time and make mental notes about what happened? So 3 at one time. That's why I've got 3 TVs. So
I think one time we had 5, didn't we?
Yeah, we had a lot.
We had 5
It's a lot. My monitor set up right now, I have 5 computer monitors so that I can pull up different stats and this and that. Um, but yeah, like I don't think you can really do. Honestly, you can't really do good notes by doing more than like maybe 1 or 2 at a time. Uh, 3 is so that I can keep up with exactly what's going on. But I get my notebook and I start writing my notes down and figure out, all right, here's what I want to see about this, and then I go back and I watch the games. I've got YouTube TV, so on YouTube TV I can go back and watch key plays. I can go back and see exactly where I was, what I want to watch in this exact moment. It's easier that way for me. So that's why I do that. What setup do you have, Matt?
Oh my gosh, I was fighting with Hulu yesterday, so I ended up having to watch it on my laptop. But I will say, it was not. I could just click back and forth between
Yes.
games. So
Yes.
so that was, but it didn't show a couple games, and then I know the Vandy Hawaii game got moved, but it was at least nice I could click around
Yeah, it was
on
not
it.
bad.
So
It's not bad. But yeah, but to close out USC, Caleb Williams, he's still really good. Zachariah Branch, that's the new weapon. I think they're going to be fine without Jordan Addison. Um, yeah, Dorian Singer was great. The transfer in from Arizona, like they got dudes. They got dudes. So the offense will be fine. It is whether or not the defense can actually put up a fight, and we're not really going to have to see if they can do that until they play Notre Dame in South Bend in October 14th, I think it is.
yeah, and I never thought San Jose State was going to be like, oh, it's just going to be the upset.
I didn't either. I know that they lost
Yeah.
like a ton of guys on defense last year. I knew the offense was going to be okay. I didn't think they'd be able to put up 4 touchdowns. Just my initial thought was, but I knew that there was potential. I love Brent Brennan, the head coach at San Jose State. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of him. Like I think he's awesome. But I also know they did not have any kind of a talent advantage in this game whatsoever. There was nothing that would point to San Jose State being able to stay in it.
Yeah, USC will always get that talent. Like that's it. You're always gonna get that. You're in Southern California. You're in LA. You can recruit kids. Come to LA. Look at the weather. Look at where you are. Pipeline to the NFL. All that. You're going to get good talent.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. All right, moving along, let's talk about the San Diego State Ohio game. San Diego State wins 20-13. Curtis Rourke goes out at the end of the first quarter there, and that was kind of all she wrote because it didn't look like CJ Harris knew what he was doing against a 3-3-5 defense, and that I think was very frustrating for Ohio. Now at the same time, uh, before that last drive of the half for San Diego State, it was a 3-3 ball game or 6-3 ball game at that point. Ohio had 209 yards to 84 before that last drive of the half. And I don't know why San Diego State does not run the ball, but run that 2-minute offense more. Jalen Maiden, that quarterback, looked significantly more comfortable in that situation than he did at any other point in the game. Which, by the way, did you see him ding the ball off the ref's face in this game?
I'm watching it and I saw that and I started screaming. I was like that. Yeah,
It's insane.
That was just.
Oh, the whole thing was nuts. The whole thing was nuts. Um,
It was a pretty entertaining. Like when I was watching it, I was like, man, this is really good. This Ohio team looks pretty good.
oh yeah,
Like they were looking really good. I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be a good game.
it's mind blowing when you look back at this because Ohio with Curtis Rourke, I think Ohio wins that game, maybe going away, right? Now, maybe the San Diego State defense would have adjusted and whatnot, but they definitely did not know what they were doing early on, right? If you look at the numbers for Ohio, let's see, Curtis Rourke, 8 of 10 passing for 75 yards, and they had to kick a field goal with him, but he was rolling until that sack, and then of course he was coming off that torn ACL, which he tore in mid to late November last year. Uh, it's one of the questions that I had is like, all right, I know there's a lot of advancements in modern, medicine, right? Not a lot of new technology. So people can come back pretty quickly from a torn ACL. But I mean, he got sacked and was still down on that field and went to the tent and never came back. And I just, I don't, if he wasn't ready, I'm sure maybe he was, but it just makes you wonder, like, did they put him in there too early, or did he feel uncomfortable and didn't want to go back out there? Like, what's it? You're a physical therapist, you know about this stuff. How quick can you come back from a torn ACL? And did he look right to you?
So I would say this. One thing I got so frustrated years ago when Adrian Peterson tore his, and I'll let all the fans know when he tore his and came back in what, like 6 months or something, some
Yeah.
ridiculous. Adrian Peterson is like an alien. He is not human. Like he can heal extreme. And somebody was like, "This is going to revolutionize health." No, 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 no.
Some people are different.
He is up here. We all live down here. Really, typically the rehab on it is like 9 months. But I'll say what I've seen, all the ACLs I've seen, it is very hit or miss. It is really, you could still have a lot of complications that arise from it. So he could have been still dealing with some issues going on, some like lingering pain, again, depending upon what the surgeon did in there or what kind of graft, like could still been dealing with some issues on there. So I don't think he probably retore it. Like, I mean, I'll look up some stuff but he just, maybe the strength wasn't fully there. He took that shot and was like, nope, no. And also the mental game. You got to get used to getting hit again. You can get scared of saying, "Oh, I get hit, I could tear this thing again." But there's a lot that goes into it. He just didn't look quite right.
Yeah, which is wild because he was still 8 of 10 for 75 yards passing. So, like, he still came out and was just slinging it around the yard. Like, he's a great quarterback, but it's kind of early, right? I mean, and we'll talk about this next week, I'm sure, because it looks like Cam Rising from Utah is going to be the likely starter for the Utes against Florida. But also, he tore his ACL on January 1st in the Rose Bowl. Like, okay, it's August. Like, what are we doing? It's going to be interesting. But yeah, this game, there was still multiple opportunities for Ohio, right? It was only a 20-13 game. It was 20-6 at one point late in the game. Ohio scored late, but 3 turnovers from C.J. Harris just absolutely killed him. You look at the points per play, 0.351 for San Diego State, 0.159 for Ohio, but success rate, that was in Ohio's favor. 82 plays to 57. Like 82 offensive plays to 57 for Ohio. Total yards was in Ohio's favor. 25 first downs to 15 for Ohio. But then you look at yards per play. You look at yards per rush attempt. That was San Diego State's biggest strength here, was being able to actually run the ball. They got a good push on that offensive line. And aside from that, like everything else, PPA per play was in San Diego State's favor. Standard down success, that was in their favor. This was good. Like 2 sacks to none. San Diego State did exactly what I thought they would. Kurt Maddox, the defensive coordinator there, I am a huge fan of his because he still runs that Rocky Long 3-3-5 defense, and it looked like it had C.J. Harris so confused at times. He did not know where the pressure was coming from. He didn't know where the coverages were going to be. I do understand there was an interception that was like bopped up and all that kind of stuff. And Kerry Lee jumps in. He said, San Diego State offense looks like last year. New OC, not that impressive. It's the first game. I mean, come on, give him a break. He said the defense saves them. Snapdragon was empty, 23,000 opening day in a 35,000 seat stadium. Temperatures were in the 70s and clear. Yes. However, they did get hit by a hurricane last week. So there was still flooding. There were still issues going on out there. So let's not slam San Diego State. I don't think Ohio is the biggest game going. So, and don't forget, like Brady Hoke, what they do out there is not the most exciting brand of football, but they start winning, they string some wins together. Yeah, they're going to be fine. That stadium's going to be filled when they get a couple of those Pac-12 teams in there this year. I don't remember who exactly is coming. Maybe Oregon State, maybe UCLA. But go ahead, Matt.
They don't live and breathe football out there like they do, like we do in the South. Like, I will say, I have experience, lived in California for a few years. Like, yeah, it's not like I will say, growing up at SEC, If your team is good, you're there. If they're bad, you're there. Yeah. If they start doing, I do see it. If they start doing better, yeah, people are going to start coming.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, look, want to know on the season for San Diego State? I'm a fan. There were so many opportunities. I told Parker from the BetUS show with me. I told him, man, it does not matter who wins this game. It's going to be the wrong side. Like, it doesn't matter because either team could have easily won this one. So I had San Diego State -2. Parker had Ohio +2. If Rourke stays in that game, I am convinced that Ohio wins it. But sometimes you get lucky. That was part of my handicap. Was I don't know about Rourke. So that's the way it happens. We'll move on. We got 4 more games that we need to hit. So let's go on and hit these bad boys. Let me go on and remind everybody, if you would, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate you guys watching. Got quite a few in here. Jump in the chat. If you got any questions, if you want any comments or whatever, toss them in there. And obviously, we will be responding to them. So we certainly appreciate you for being here. We'll be here every Sunday. We're going to try and make it either noon or 1 o'clock. Just make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, and it's going to let you know. Also, the podcast as well. I'm going to have some shows that are on the podcast each week that won't be on the YouTube. Just a heads up. So make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast as well. All right, moving along. Vandy, 35, Hawaii 28. And Vanderbilt was an 18-point favorite here. My notes on this were I was wrong about Hawaii. I had the under 3.5 for them on the season at +105. Don't think that's going to happen because I do think Hawaii is going to win some games. And my question here is Vanderbilt going to hit 5 wins again this year? Everybody thought, well, next step would be a bowl game. I don't know that that's in the cards here because Vanderbilt did everything they could to give this game away. They were up 35-14, and Hawaii was able to just throw the ball all over the field on them. That secondary for Vanderbilt was not, they were not exciting. They were not impressive at all. Matt, what were your thoughts on Vanderbilt here?
So I kept flipping over. I really wanted to watch this game, and I know with the weather delay, I threw it off a little bit, and I felt like at times like, oh, okay, like Vandy looks pretty good, and then like Hawaii looks really good, and yeah, like Vandy's gonna have a long year if they keep playing like this. Like you want it to just give that away, like the one when Hawaii got all the way down to the 1 and that interception in the end zone. That should not have happened. You got lucky.
Well, that was not the only goal to go situation where they didn't come out with points, right?
Yeah,
they had 2 goal to go spots where they came away with nothing.
that was a defensive lineman that ran that ball, wasn't it?
I think so. I think so.
And I'm watching him run. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I will say this: I like Hawaii. I like watching them play. They're fun. Ever since Colt Brennan was there, it was just fun to watch. But when he was running, I'm like, that's like a Hawaii running back right there. They're just slow, but I was a defensive lineman. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But he should have got in. He should have got in. And then you interception right there. Like, oh, Vandy's. I was hoping Vandy was. It's going to be like, hey, you're going to can maybe put up some effort here in the SEC, but nah, I don't know.
I don't think that they've got the horses to be able to do it, but who knows? Like they came out of the gates hot last year. They walloped Hawaii 63-10 on the island, but and you immediately thought, okay, well they got the playmakers. You look at what they did here. We'll flip it over there. Patrick Smith, 7 carries for 30 yards with a long of 21. That means 6 of the carries went for a total of 9 yards. If you cannot run on Hawaii, you are going to have problems. They ran the ball 26 times for a total of 39 yards. Now, don't get me wrong. 3 of those were sacks of A.J. Swan, right? So -26. But that's an issue. That's a major issue. A.J. Swan looked good. But again, I don't know that Hawaii's secondary is anything to write home about. He was 19 of 30, 258 yards, 3 touchdowns. On the other side, I mean, the Shaker kid for Hawaii, 27 out of 34 passing, 351 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have the 1 pick in the end zone. And that late play where the Morris kid throws the interception. I don't know why you run that. I don't understand it. But Vandy had so many different opportunities in this game. And how this game did not hit an over, or Vandy hitting the team total over, which was set at 37. They had 35 points with 14 minutes left in the game or whatever it was. I mean, it like I'm sure it had to be driving some people crazy. But Vanderbilt was the better football team, and just they let Hawaii hang around the whole time. Is that kind of how you felt?
They did, and I'm also wondering if Hawaii's playing because of all the stuff in Maui and all that going on. That went.
So
did they come out with?
Let me interrupt you on that because I'm very curious about this. So Maui is like 100 miles away and 2 islands over from Honolulu, right? So I'm curious, it would be like Alabama players playing a game are they really fired up if like a hurricane hit Gulf Shores, right? It's in Alabama, but it's not really right there. So I'm curious what the mental thing would be for them, right?
I think it's just the because it was its own nation for a long time.
Yeah.
And if it's like, our people, and this be a way that we can spread the message, because they had one kid that was from there on the team that talked about he lost cousins, and he lost family members in it. And they said some of the proceeds from the game were going to go to some of the relief effort. So that's what I really felt like. Maybe Hawaii's going to come out and play with emotion due to that. You're on the big time stage, bring a little bit more attention. We can do this for our home state and our neighbors and our people here. So I felt like they were going to have a little bit more emotion when they came over to play as well. I thought that was maybe going to be something that, and I think the coach even had something on his shirt.
Yeah.
For it. So I mean, I can understand, like, yeah, it's not the university, but it is your state, and you're kind of, you're by yourself, and everybody in Hawaii goes to the, if you want to play football, you go to University of Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always like watching them play. I mean, good gracious, they play at like 2 a.m. over here, but they're still so fun to watch. I still like watching them.
Oh, agreed.
All the
Last year early was a debacle. This year, going to be better. And in late last season, they were starting to come around. They were starting to look a little bit better. So yeah, here's why I was so concerned, right? They lost 4 of their top 6 offensive linemen last year, and that was what they did best. Was they were able to get offensive line yards. They did not allow a lot of havoc, and they lost a bunch of those guys. So I was convinced because the defense was pretty good, but they lost some guys there too. I was very concerned. Damani S jumped in on the chat and he said Vandy's offensive stats are a little deflated since they returned to kick for a touchdown. They did do that. It was a 97-yard kick return for a touchdown that, it's tore this thing wide open, right? So again, Vandy had the speed advantage. They have the athletes, and they could not put them away for whatever reason.
You could just, yeah. Just seeing the players on there was a difference in the quality of athlete that Vandy had versus, I mean, Hawaii. Yes, like I said, people from
Vandy
Hawaii
has speed advantage. I mean, that's that's wild to think about. Vandy having a speed advantage over anybody. That is something else. Let's see. Let's move ahead. We got 3 more that we got to hit here. Next on the docket, we are going to talk about Jacksonville State and UTEP. And Rich Rod's boys, the Gamecocks in Jacksonville, Alabama, they get the win 17-14. This was ugly. This was exactly what you would expect from a week 0 game in Conference USA, right? Now, if you are a Jacksonville State fan, you still take a whole lot of good out of this, at least from my point of view. I think you still look at this as, yeah, that's okay. We're trying to get acclimated, right? This 17-14, UTEP had 3 turnovers. Gavin Hardison, there's a lot of people that like what he does because he can absolutely throw some zingers, right? He every now and then is just deadly accurate with that football. Some of those deep passes will go wherever. I mean, it's just who knows who he's throwing to or whatever. That UTEP offensive line, I knew that their defensive line was going to be, I don't know that improved would be the word, but I knew that they would at least be formidable. And the reason for that, they got, a bunch of JUCO guys coming in and whatnot. They got 38 new players on this team this year. But I knew that they would be okay. But the fact that their offensive line was getting beat up by a formerly FCS team, it was a mess. Both offensive lines had issues. Let's pull it up on the screen here so you can actually see what we're talking about. 3 turnovers for UTEP, 0.27 points per play for Jacksonville State to 0.20 for UTEP. UTEP better success rate. They had more plays. They had more total yards by nearly 100 yards. 7 more first downs, more yards per play. But Jacksonville State, on the other side, 5 yards per rush attempt to only 3.6 for UTEP. And UTEP ran the ball one more time than they did, which is even more surprising to me. The fact that Jacksonville State didn't run the ball more than UTEP did. Just wild. What'd you think about this? Zion Webb, by the way, the quarterback for Jacksonville State. Good numbers here. I can't believe he threw the ball 20 times, but 10 out of 20 for 67 yards, only 6.7 yards per completion. He was throwing a lot of short stuff, which I would too if we ran the ball 44 times for 208 yards, right?
First, I was surprised that Rich Rod was the coach. I had forgotten about that.
You forgot about that?
I got a little bit out of it. The kids are keeping me busy on the weekends and stuff.
I understand.
But so I'm like, holy cow, Rich Rod. Like, okay, this should be interesting. And yeah, UTEP, like some flashes of like, oh, playing really good. Yeah, hit some good passes. But other times, like, who are you throwing to? And then,
yes,
like, just you threw it 10 yards over his head, like wide open if you had hit him. But then another time he'd just drop it right in. They were like, that was a great pass. But now I will say Jacksonville State, though, they've been like a sneaky team in the past. Like they'll jump up and get a big win. Like they beat Ole Miss several years ago.
Florida State 2 years ago.
Yeah. So it's like they have some heart there. And I can see with like Rich Rod's offense, like one, you need certain players, you need certain talent to run that. And like it's hard to get there. Like you see, like he doesn't quite have that. But also I think a lot of people figured out his offense over the years because you just keep seeing it everywhere he goes. Like that spread. So they're knowing how to defend it. But I thought it was pretty entertaining. Again, that was another one I thought was, UTEP, I felt like just blew some opportunities there. But watching, I could see the flashes of that old spread offense in there. Like, okay, pulling the ball back, running. Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that. That looks pretty good. I know there's some other things I thought was interesting. I didn't realize this about like with the players at Jacksonville State. And so they talk about like their size difference. Like they don't have as big of guys. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean they were in the FCS, right?
But the academics, and I was trying to look that up. What are the academic differences between the FBS and the FCS?
I didn't realize that. I didn't even hear him talking about that.
Yeah, they just mentioned it, and I'm like, oh, like that could be kind of interesting. With guys, you got to make sure that you can play. But I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of interesting. Which I mean, I'm all for people getting the opportunity to go to college. If you can play ball, going to college. But that's gonna be interesting. Yep. With players and staying eligible.
Oh yeah, something to pay attention to for Sam Houston State next week when they play against BYU. That's something big there. The drive chart, by the way. Let's see. So UTEP turnover on downs, punt, missed field goal, fumble, and a touchdown there. And then you open up the second half, interception, punt, touchdown, punt, turnover on downs. Like it was a debacle. Jacksonville State, they missed a field goal after being up 17-7 that it wouldn't have like put the game away, but it would have made you feel a whole lot better. And they were holding on for dear life, just holding on for dear life there because they got that 17-7 lead. They missed a field goal. It was a debacle. This game was again exactly what you think a week 0 game in Conference USA should be.
Yeah, this the little things like that. Like, okay, just not all put together. Like you said, missed field goals, bad passes, turnovers. Like, okay,
Yeah, it was a mess.
Yeah, like it was like, oh, it's something to watch.
Yeah,
But I was interested. So as soon as I saw Rich Rod, I'm like, oh, let me watch this. I watched a lot of that game. I just want to see that.
for the only standalone spots to be Notre Dame just walloping Navy, and then moving over to Jacksonville State and UTEP for a standalone for just a little while before you get Ohio, San Diego State, and UMass, New Mexico State, and whatnot. Okay, I guess this is what we're doing. So I mean, it was fun because it came down. It was tight down at the wire, but also not good football. But what do you expect? I mean, it's week 0. It's UTEP and Jacksonville State. So,
One thing with all these games, I was really wanting to see what the heat and humidity would be doing to these guys. But it seemed like most of these teams like came from somewhere with the same issues. So like UTEP, it's hotter than Satan's butt out here, and then I mean you're going to the middle of Alabama, so you're just throwing humidity on top of it.
yeah,
And it's like yeah, so I mean the game, I mean, so like okay, like all these games, like okay, it wasn't a team from way up north playing a team from way down south. Like everyone has been training in the heat. So that's what I was thinking about this one, and probably the next one, the Florida and the Louisiana Tech.
Yeah,
I was really wanting to see if humidity and heat would play a factor, but I'm like, no, these guys were good on it.
but Florida International. Hey, let's go on and move to that. Florida International, they're used to that, right? They're totally used to that. Louisiana Tech 22, Florida International 17, and this one did not go at all the way that I anticipated. I thought that this game was going to be an over. The last 3 times these teams have played, it has gone well into the 60s. Sonny Cumbie, who is the head coach at Louisiana Tech, and David Yost, the offensive coordinator for FIU. Yost used to be at Texas Tech and at wherever else. Sonny Cumbie was also an OC at Texas Tech. Both of these guys love to run a lot of plays, all this kind of mess, which we'll talk in a little bit about the clock rules, right? The changes that they've made. But this was not how I envisioned it. None of these teams looked sharp or anything like that. But even if they weren't sharp, I thought there'd be more attempts to go down the field, right? More attempts to like do something on that with offense because they like to score. Both of these teams want to put up a lot of points, and it was a debacle. Now, of course, we did get news early on that Louisiana Tech had 2 running backs out, and let me see the names on these guys. Let's see. We had Louisiana Tech without running backs, Tyree Shelton and Marquise Crosby. So both of their running backs were out for the game. But I don't think that was the issue here. Hank Bachmeier, we knew that he had declined when he was at Boise State, right? He's the new quarterback over at Florida, or excuse me, over at Louisiana Tech. I don't know what to think about him right now. At least, and I know it's the first game. I get that. I'll go on and pull up the stats here. But Matt, tell me your thoughts on this. Louisiana Tech did not impress me.
I thought Florida International was going to run away with it when they came out, and that running back, I mean, just ran through the hall. I'm like, okay, Florida International, they're gonna stick it on here, and they're gonna keep going. And they're talking up the quarterback there. What's his name?
The quarterback at Florida International.
No. Louisiana Tech. Bachmeier.
Yeah.
Talking him up. Oh, he's been in Boise State. Okay, he didn't look impressive.
He did hit Smoke Harris a couple of times. And Smoke Harris is just absurd. I mean, the speed on that kid is. He hit this one slant route where Harris takes it all the way down, 60, 70 yards, whatever it was. But he just outran everybody. And I think that's all you have to do in some of these cases, right? The teams you're going to be playing in Conference USA, you have an advantage. Like, get out there, get him on a slant, and let's go. Like, it blew my mind.
Yeah, I just didn't think like as much as they talked him up, I'm like he didn't look impressive to me, and
No.
it just like and it got really kind of dull there after a while. Like it's just back and forth and back. It was like it was Louisiana Tech missed a couple field goals and scoring opportunities, and it's like
It couldn't put the ball in the end zone.
no,
That's the craziest thing to me
yeah,
is that they could not put the ball in the end zone. Looking at the stats here, you see the points per play, like 0.405 points per play for Florida International when they only scored 17 points, but that's because they only ran 42 offensive plays. Louisiana Tech had 78. I mean, look at the difference here. Success rate 41% to 33%. Like, that's big time. Louisiana Tech had more turnovers. This was, look at the total yardage, 447 to 182. Just a debacle. Florida International only got 8 first downs in this game. They had 17 points with like 14 minutes left in the second quarter and then didn't score again for the rest of the night. And yet Louisiana Tech, it took them that long to be able to score that last touchdown. This was a debacle. I mean, again, I don't know what to make of Louisiana Tech because I thought that Cumbie's offense was going to come out swinging, and I expected a whole lot more out of them. We'll pull this up and look at the drive chart here, but it kind of gives you an idea of exactly what happened, right? They had to punt, they threw an interception, they kicked a field goal, they missed a field goal, finally scored a touchdown, and then kicked a field goal on the last play of that first half. So it's 17-13, but you come out and you fumble the ball, and then you got to punt, field goal, missed field goal again. You know, you finally score a touchdown, and then it was, I did not expect this out of them. I expected high flying, and I got nothing.
yeah. I thought it was gonna be a lot more, and I just kept waiting. I'm like, when's it gonna happen? When's it? Yeah,
It never
they missed
did.
field goals. It was just like, what's going on?
And nothing went on. That's the crazy thing. Looking at the stats here, Bachmeier, they threw it 44 times. 34 out of 44, 33 or 333 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Okay. Yeah, 2.9 yards per rush. That wasn't great. Smoke Harris is just another level down here. 11 receptions, 155 yards, 1 touchdown. Had that long of 64, that slant I was telling you about. And on the other side, this kid Lawrence for Florida International, 15 carries, 139 yards. He did have that one long touchdown run. But yeah, this I don't know what to make of Florida International either. They looked like gangbusters coming out early, but after that, I mean, they did absolutely nothing. And I did not expect Louisiana Tech's defense to be what won them this game, but it absolutely did.
Yeah.
You feel the same way?
Yeah, I really thought it was like, yeah, Florida International. When they came out, they just kept at it. I was like, okay, they're going to run away with it. Louisiana Tech, they can't. They're not really playing very well. And then just missed field goals, turnovers.
Like what is happening? What is happening? What is this in the chat? Legit jumped in. He said, "R.I.P. Snoop Dogg." No way. And I'm suspended from Twitter, so I can't see nothing. So I see nothing. No, he ain't. No, that ain't real. Oh well. I don't see anything either. What are you doing in here, legit? Trying to jump in my chat, mess up. All right, let's close out with the last game, and then we'll get out of here. So we've been at this for almost an hour. That's exactly what we said we wanted to do. We're gonna have a lot more games to talk about next week, but UMass 41 points and New Mexico State scored 30. Now this is the one that I was interested with the weather about. Right, the line on this one ended up being 7 in favor of New Mexico State. It opened at 10 in the preseason, in the offseason, whatever you want to call it. But it opened at 10, and it kept getting bet down. Everybody thought UMass. And my number on this was New Mexico State favored by 3. So I didn't bet this one. But I'll go on and pull up the stats here. And brother, 3 turnovers for New Mexico State. Points per play. UMass had uh, 0.759 points per play. Just insane. 54 plays, they put up 41 points. They scored a defensive touchdown, obviously. That's good. New Mexico State had more yards, more first downs, more yards per play, more yards per rush. Uh, UMass, more yards per pass, which was interesting. But the Pumachan, that kid was awesome. UMass has a quarterback. I'm very intrigued by what Don Brown is doing in his second year at UMass. He upgraded the talent significantly there. And while there were still some issues, I I don't know, man. Like this team looks worlds better than they did a year ago. What were your thoughts on this one?
So what I saw before the season that like UMass was going to be terrible. Like it was like, oh, they're going to be bad. They're not going to be very good because they were 11-1 last year, and they brought in a ton. They lost a ton of guys, didn't they?
Yeah.
It. So I was expecting like, okay, New Mexico State. They 7-6. So like, oh, okay, they're coming up. Watching this, I'm like, okay, UMass looks pretty legit on there. They're contending. I mean, granted, it's New Mexico State, but they look better than what I thought.
You talked about the weather and you were very interested in that, right? It was like 90 some odd degrees in
Yeah.
Las Cruces. And UMass, of course, ain't used to that.
No. Yeah.
And yet it looked like it had no effect.
No. Yeah. The guys playing out there, like, still playing the whole game. Still. So I thought it was going to be like a little bit more one-sided, but I was very surprised on this one though. Like, oh, okay, may have to watch a little bit more UMass.
Yeah. Like I'm curious to see what they look like because they have somebody competent at quarterback for the first time since like Mark Whipple was the coach, and Whipple's been gone for quite a while. I mean, he was with Pitt for a little while, led Kenny Pickett to that crazy ACC championship year, took the Nebraska money, and now he's off on the farm somewhere. He's out drinking a margarita. Like he's doing his thing. At UMass now, Don Brown, who of course was the DC at Michigan, he's a defensive guy, first off, but honestly, like I did not expect this quick of a turnaround. Prayers for anybody that had the under in this game. The under was you either got it at 44 or 45, somewhere around there. This game was 13-10 at the end of the third quarter. The fourth quarter here. Let me flip this over so that you can see.
Yeah, it went nuts in the fourth quarter.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously there were turnovers and different things that were going on early in this game. It looked like a defensive battle, but man, you get to that fourth quarter, and it is just it's mayhem. All right, so there's the missed field goal from New Mexico State, and then you get into that fourth quarter, and you got the first pass of the fourth quarter is a 68-yard pass that sets you up to be able to score a touchdown. So then it's 20-10 UMass, and New Mexico State comes right back down the field, 3 plays, 79 yards in a minute and 1 second, and puts up another touchdown. It's 20-17 at that point. You got a touchdown, then an interception touchdown, and then another touchdown, all right there back to back. I mean, it's it's absolutely wild. You had a missed field goal, and then you had a touchdown to start the fourth quarter. You had touchdown, 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 interception touchdown, and then another touchdown. And then a fumble that led to another touchdown. It was wild. And New Mexico State, of course, put up another score at the end of the game because why not? Let's just keep adding points.
I was kind of wondering about that. I was like, you got 2 seconds. You can't even onside kick it to go, but you're just trying to get some stats. Like, that's kind of what I was thinking. Is get a stat or two.
Well, they added to it, right? So Diego Pavia, 15 of 26, 248 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 2 picks. And this is another team that I was wrong on. I had New Mexico State over 5.5 this year. I thought they would get to 6 wins. If you can't beat UMass at home, I don't know that I trust you to be able to get to 6 wins. So go ahead and wipe those off the slate. Chalk that money up as a loss. I'm good. I'm good with that. So Hawaii, I had the under. New Mexico State, I had the over. I should have flipped them. You live and you learn, right? You look at some of these other numbers. Fumachan or Pumachan. I heard them say it a couple of different ways last night. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just don't know. But he ran the ball 17 times for 96 yards and a touchdown and threw 10 of 17 for 192 yards. That's all you need if you got a good enough defense. If you're making plays on defense, I mean, let's go. They got an athletic quarterback that is pretty good. And for those that recognize the name, but you're not sure where you recognize it from, he was the backup quarterback at Clemson behind DJ Uiagalelei before Cade Klubnik got there. So just so you know, he's a pretty highly rated quarterback coming out of high school, and looks like he has finally found a home. So that fourth quarter, though, brother, late night on ESPN. I mean, that was absolutely bonkers. I loved it. All right, is there anything else that you want to hit on, brother?
It was interesting hearing all the transfers.
Oh, yes.
So like him coming from Clemson and all these guys from bigger school. I would say, I think I heard something from TCU and A&M. These other bigger schools going to these lesser known schools. And it did seem like, oh, okay, that you have better talent on these teams now, where it's not, maybe you won't take, those 60-0 beatings on it. So I'm interested to see more and more of that.
I am too. UMass had a lot of Power 5 transfers. You up that talent just a little bit, it helps out tremendously. So I can't wait to see what we're going to get in week 1. Brother, tell them again where they can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram, Matt_PT_Dip_MDT. I am on Twitter and TikTok. Like I said, I do goofy, funny things on there. So if you need a little break, humor in your life, or if you have any questions about, aches or pains or whatnot like that, we can chat about that.
That sounds good. I'm excited to have you in every Sunday doing this with me. It's going to be a blast. Again, everybody can find me at Gary WCE, Instagram and TikTok for now. I'll let you know when Elon gets back to me about my suspended Twitter account and what the hell that's all about. But either way, the BetUS College Football Show every Tuesday and Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also go over to the Winning Cures Everything Community tab on the YouTube page there and check out the schedule for this year. We're going to have separate podcasts, separate YouTube, etc. But content, a whole lot of stuff coming out. So make sure that you are subscribed and that you like the video. Share it out with your friends. Tell everybody you know about it, all that good stuff. Matt, this has been a pleasure. But let me go ahead and wrap this thing up. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And God bless college football, of course. And hopefully all of your tickets cash this week. Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Make sure and follow me on Twitter at GaryWCE. If you want to toss in a question, you can email me, Gary@winningcureseverything.com. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.